Hey, yo, what's the deal? Miss your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag, you know what I mean? As of this recording, it is 11:50 p.m. 2025, you know what I mean? And this is the last video of the night, you know what I mean? I didn't know what I wanted to talk about because, again, there was no news. There really was not any news to discuss, you know what I'm saying? It was just a shit day in terms of news. Nothing sensational, nothing juicy or spicy and stuff. The only thing that was to date was the Andrade thing and fucking, the still with the Warner Brothers Discovery thing. So I found out that Paramount put in a third bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, and that shit went nowhere. You know what I mean? Basically, the things that I'm hearing is that Warner Brothers Discovery still wants David Zasloff as co-CEO of whoever buys it. You know what I mean? Almost like, when TKO, that anyone who was going to buy WWE, they had to bring Vince along. You know what I mean? And David Zasloff is not well liked. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there you go. But I'm also hearing that, some people want assets, not the whole company, just assets. But, yeah, the battle still goes on, right? So I decided to bring up a very interesting topic that I don't think a lot of people realize or even know about. So as you see in the title of this video, you see that it says the pro wrestler Shawn Michaels and adult film star Shawn Michaels controversy. And I know some of y'all probably wondering, yo, Tag, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? Like, well, explain. All right. Peep this, okay? So, back in the days, there was and trust me, I used to watch porn. I still fuck with porn. You know what I mean? I love porn. You know what I mean? Like, I love seeing, I love, who the fuck don't like porn? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be a bitch-made motherfucker not to like porn. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of porn stars who are like, I'm talking about female porn stars. Shit. We go back from, in the 90s shit, to fucking Janet Jackman, Heather Hunter, Purple Passion. You know what I mean? Who else? Fucking, who else? I'm trying to think. There's more. You know what I mean? Dominique Simone. You know what I mean? This is like the 90s. You know what I mean? Fucking Champagne Penn Davis. Yasmin Penn Davis. You know what I'm saying? And they even like the ones in the late 90s, early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like Tyra Butts. Remember Tyra Butts? Y'all remember Tyra Butts? Who else? What else? Fucking Chanel Stacks. You know what I mean? Who else? Naomi Banks. You know what I'm saying? A lot of beautiful ones. Monique. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Pinky. You know what I'm saying? Beauty Dior. Jada Fire. You know what I mean? A whole bunch. But I'm specifically aiming for just one. You know what I mean? In the male side. Because, of course, there's a lot of male porn stars that I remember, too. You know what I mean? And one in particular. I had to fucking redo this shoot on purpose because I said something that was crazy. One male porn star caught my attention, right? It's not for what you think either. So there was a guy by the name of Shawn Michaels, right? A black porn star who was doing porn, all the way from, I think, the late 80s. The late 80s, and I think the motherfucker's still doing porn as we speak. You know what I mean? And so, I'll never forget, and I'll keep it a buck with y'all. Like, fuck it, I keep it a stack with y'all. When I was young, they used to have something called video stores, right? Where you can rent videos and you can rent video games and such, right? And so, when I was living in Crown Heights, there was a video store, or there was two video stores. One on St. John's and Utica, and there was another one going towards the opposite direction, St. John's and Rochester, right? They both had porn sections, right? And so, of course, a young me would be mad curious. A young teenage me would be super curious and such, right? Of course, that's where we first learned about sex. Unless you're an AEW sicko who basically is still a virgin and you live with your mom in your mom's basement and shit. But, that's another story for another day. And so, looking at it, right, there was a person by the name of Shawn Michaels, right, in some movies. And I'm like, Shawn Michaels? Like, I automatically got confused with the pro wrestler Shawn Michaels. And by the way, the porn star Shawn Michaels, black guy, I didn't know he's from Brooklyn. He's a BK, he's from Brooklyn. He's from BK. You know what I mean? But I got confused when I seen this because I'm like, Shawn Michaels, like, you're not talking about the wrestler Shawn Michaels, like, no. But the name was spelled differently. The name Shawn was spelled differently. His name was S-E-A-N, right? The porn star. The pro wrestler Shawn Michaels is S-H-A-W-N. But also, here's a little bit of a fucking tidbit for y'all, right? The names, that's not even both of their real fucking names. It's not even their real fucking names, B. It's not one bit. Yeah, because, according to Reddit, actually his real name, this is Reddit. According to Reddit, they say his real name is Andre Allen, but when I look at his Wikipedia, it's actually his real name, Shawn Michaels, S-E-H-N, right? And of course, I'm looking at his Wikipedia. I didn't know he attended Boys and Girls. You know what I mean? And then he moved out to the West Coast, where he worked as a nurse and blah, blah, blah. Of course, he did modeling and everything else, But, I remember watching him in videos and looking like, what the fuck? Like, this is not the Shawn Michaels that, not me watching the videos, but like on the box cover, I'm like, this is not the Shawn Michaels that, I remember in wrestling. Now, this is not the Shawn Michaels that I seen in the Rockers and even before that in the AWA and such, right? So at the same time, during the 90s, of course, Shawn Michaels, aka Michael Hickenbottom, was coming up. Now, to where we know it now, right? As becoming one of the greatest professional wrestling superstars, especially in the 90s. Like, Shawn Michaels, the wrestler, was the shit. Bar fucking none. You know what I mean? And so when people think of the name Shawn Michaels, right? And that's the funny thing too about Shawn Michaels, the wrestler. His gimmick was what? He was known as what? The Heartbreak Kid, the sexy boy, right? Almost like a stripper type of person for the females and everything. He basically was a pretty boy for the females, right? So when you mix the two, almost in that same line, yeah, you're gonna get a mix-up. You're definitely gonna get a fucking mix-up. And then also on top of that, remember, Shawn Michaels, the wrestler, also he posed for Playgirl, right? So yeah. So apparently, the WWE actually sent a cease and desist on the porn star Shawn Michaels, right? Over the name. But from what I read, from what I read here on Reddit, they say it got shut down pretty quick after it was discovered that Shawn Michaels, the porn star, real name Andre Allen, had trademarked his name while Shawn Michaels, the wrestler, born Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, had not. It's speculated this was the case that caused WWE to start trademarking names from the onset of acquiring talent. So I'm not surprised if that was the case. You know what I mean? But it's crazy when you think about it, right? It's real bugged when you fucking think about names and such and things like that, because you never know who's out there who could be famous, even if it's something low like porn. You know what I mean? And so if it wasn't for, if it wasn't for Michael Hickenbottom's success and such, the name Shawn Michaels basically would have been automatically towards, who? The porn star. This is not the first time, though, that there's been mix up of names and such. Remember with Triple H, and I might even talk about this too. Triple H and the rapper Game had a little bit of an issue, right? I think WWE tried to, I think they tried to trademark the Game moniker, and they told the rapper Game not to use it. He said fuck off and everything. And also, it's the same thing like with DDP and Jay-Z. A lot of people seem to forget about, the diamond sign. You know what I mean? The fucking diamond sign, But this was a very, underrated topic to talk about because, again, like, I remember this clearly. I was like, what the fuck? There's a porn star named Shawn Michaels? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy. Yeah. Now, if the name would have been SHAWN, just like the wrestler, then it would have been some crazy shit. Honest to God, I think just just seeing that and like, this is also why certain actors and such, they put they put a either. They put a letter next to their next to that name. You know what I mean? So there's no confusion, or they change the name. Example, right? Michael B. Jordan, right? Michael B. Jordan. So his real name was Michael Jordan, right? But because of who, right? He had to put something in. He either had to change his whole name entirely, or he said, "Fuck it. Let me put the letter of my middle name on there, so there's no confusion." You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean it's smart business and such, but you really can't blame them. Know what I mean? But yeah, I just felt like I had to just bring this up because not a lot of people knew about this. Like Shawn Michaels, the porn star, and Shawn Michaels, the wrestler. And that's another thing I forgot to bring up too. This also could have done, remember Shawn Michaels, the wrestler, was a born-again Christian. He became a born-again Christian. So, he didn't want fans to see, or have fans who look up to him see his name mixed up in another form of entertainment that was not so PG. You know what I mean? And yeah, and they would have automatically thought that, okay, well, we don't want to cheer for this guy because, he's supposed to be a Christian, but he's doing porn, but that wound up not being the case, But this is basically the main reason why WWE makes these names up and they trademark. So there you go. Anyway, guys, I'm about to be out. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully there's news. Yeah, I mean, I hope there's news tomorrow and such. You know what I mean? So I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.